Humans are unique to other organisms on Earth because we spend our lives straddling two worlds that are in conflict, the world we inherited and the world we built. This video is going to cover how these worlds are different, why they have historically been in conflict, and one of the biggest questions in Earth science. Do these two worlds need to be so separate? And can the world survive the changes that we've made? First, let me convince you that these two worlds exist. Pause this video, walk out your door and look around. Take a note of everything you see and then come back. It's okay, I'll wait. Okay, back? Great. It doesn't matter if you live in a city or a suburb or a small town or on a farm. The dominant things you saw when you stepped outside, we either directly built by human hands or cultivated by human hands. You at least saw your home, a driveway, and a road, which are obvious, but you probably also saw grass, flowers, or trees planted by someone, or that may or may not be native to the ecosystem your community exists in. You may have seen domesticated animals or animals who have adapted to living in the human world, like cats, dogs, seagulls, rabbits, or crows. You might have even seen the shoreline of a lake or the banks of a stream that may have been reinforced or diverted in case of a flood. Nearly every plant, animal, and resource, and even stone in and around a human settlement has been planned and designed. It's been changed or removed to suit our needs and to keep nature out. So hopefully you're convinced that we live in these two worlds, because now I'm going to go into them in a little bit more detail. If I haven't convinced you yet, just hang with me. I'll get you, I promise. So let's look at the world we inherited. This is the world that the first humans stepped out into, and this world still exists in places where humans are scarce. This is that David Attenborough world, the world of nature documentaries that humans have struggled to tame since before we started recording our own history. Earth is ancient and has gone through many changes. The natural world of human history, in the natural world and human history, is very different than the natural world that the dinosaurs knew. This version of the natural world that we live in now started a few 100,000 years ago, which is really a blink of the eye in the history of Earth, and we call it the Holocene. This version of the planet is cool, with ice at the poles, and that cool environment has led to abundant grasslands, which is really good for us because most of our crops are species of grass, from corn to rice to wheat to ancient grains. This is also the first time in the 4.5 billion years of Earth's existence that mammals have existed and been so dominant. Also good for us because we're mammals and we prefer to eat other mammals by and large. But grasslands, savannas, and steppes are not the only environments on our planet. Because we have several different land masses and not just one large supercontinent, and because we have polar ice, we have a variety of different biomes like tropical rainforests, tundras, deserts, and temperate forests. All of these different environmental conditions mean that our planet supports a large range of different kinds of life. Certain plants live in certain places, and each new place will have new plants, animals, insects, bacteria, fish, viruses, and so on. This is the world of our ancestors in the early Holocene, and they found themselves in this recently thawed world, right after the last ice age. So let me share with you a universal truth in biology. All organisms fill a niche. And what I mean by that is that every organism has a place in the larger ecosystem that it's a part of. It takes resources from that ecosystem and it gives vital resources back to the ecosystem. Philosophically, at least I find this very comforting. We can feel like we belong in the world, right? We have a role to play, but the reality of this is really much less comforting. Actually, it's kind of terrifying. It means that for the system to work, we must be a resource for other members of that system. Our children and our elderly will often perish to ensure that cougars in the ecosystem continue to exist. For reasons we cannot control, some years food will be scarce and people that we love will die. And this is all because we're only part of the system. We've evolved into the system where we play an important role, but we're not really an apex predator. And our big brains realized that the world was a place where you either ruled or you suffered. And that's when our big brains decided that we were going to rule. We started the work of taming the world around us, building walls and keeping this harsh reality of nature out. We stopped moving around and depending on where the resources were, and then we brought the resources to us. Animals that we like to hunt were too smart and unpredictable to be reliable food sources, so we built walls around them. And we started breeding the most complacent and the meatiest ones so that we had a reliable source of meat to feed our children. We found plants that had edible bits, and we bred them to grow bigger, juicier edible bits. We built walls and walls and walls to keep out those predators and weather and annoying neighbors and anything that reminded us too much of the dangers out there. And we got really good at it. And for a time, anything too natural was considered dirty or smelly or undesirable for some other reason. And our cities got bigger. Our children stopped dying so often. Our old people got older, and in general, life got safer so that we could all use our big brains for philosophy, art, and science, and not solely for survival. This world that we built is designed in every way to keep us safe, comfortable, and healthy. But it is in no way able to take into account how our bubbles of civilization, which now cover most of the land masses on our planet, affect the ecosystems that they exist in. And this isn't something we think about usually, but every city exists in a larger ecosystem and has built an intentional and unintentional ecosystem within it. Okay, we live on Earth, and the only way to keep the rest of Earth out of our habitat would be to build some massive space station where we control everything about everything. And if you are a germaphobe or someone that is uncomfortable in nature, that might appeal to you. But then when you think about it, there would be nothing novel in this environment, and it would be absolutely exhausting to keep up. Now, as luck would have it, there are organisms that also benefit from our built environment. Intelligent scavengers like crows take advantage of us all the time. And all of the plants and animals we've spent thousands of years genetically engineering through agriculture and animal husbandry enjoy a safe, boring, and easy life until they're harvested, right? But these are the exceptions. We have mercilessly killed and driven out any competitors for our resources. Think of all those big predators we were so scared of before we built up our walls. We've driven most of them to extinction, and in general, we hate any large predator that we share space with. Here in the Pacific Northwest, think of wolves, bears, and cougars. The people most likely to encounter them are also often the ones who push laws trying to make it legal to shoot and kill them. And that makes sense because these bears and wolves and cougars are putting everything that we worked for in jeopardy. Now, I'm not trying to convince you that human society or civilization is wrong on any level. What I am trying to do, though, is help you place yourself and your community in the context of the natural world. Because whether you acknowledge it or not, you're part of the natural world, and you need to be aware of it. Not being aware of how our actions as humans impact the larger systems of our planet have gotten us into trouble in the past and present, and I'm sure will continue to get us into trouble in the future. Our place in the world is something that we all need to think about. And I'm not trying to make you think about it so that you feel guilty or angry or defeated. I want you to think about it because I, like almost every other Earth scientist out there, believes that if we all think about it, we can build our human Earth to be a better place for humans and the Earth systems. If we treat our communities like a part of the ecosystem, paying close attention to what we take and what we give back to the ecosystem, then the system as a whole will be healthier for longer. And this is good because we're part of that system. And even if we close our eyes and plug our ears, and we know that currently the way we exist in the system is changing the system to be less habitable for us. Okay, so the whole goal of environmental science is to ensure that our built world and our natural world are as healthy as possible. And this happens when the needs of the built environment are in balance with the natural environment. So that brings me to what we as earth scientists are working toward. We study all of these natural phenomena to bring better understanding to how these systems work. We do this so that we as humans can make better decisions, so that we can be more thoughtful about what we want for our future and we can make it happen. And all of our research and knowledge thus far has told us that what we need is balance. We need to balance the needs of humans and the needs of the systems to get us where we want to go. It'll get us to a future where we're all thriving and healthy and not scared of everything changing, because we will have changed it ourselves to be more sustainable, and we will be better citizens of the planet that we live on. Okay, so this is the future that I want. And I don't care what side of the issue you are on for any particular environmental policy or problem. I want you to have the scientific knowledge about our planet so that you can decide what future you want, what your values are, and make decisions that get us there.